Richician!
Hey YouTube, Richician84 here, and welcome to Q&A number 161. Let's kick it off. And Express Gaming has submitted some questions, which he refers to as a 5D special. Even though this is meant to be the anniversary of GX and Arc 5, then again, this is a nice way to celebrate 16 years since 5D started. One, out of all the tuna monsters in the 5D's era, which one do you think is better than the other ones? That's a really tough choice. See, it's a toss-up between Junk Synchron, Gale, and Plague Spreader. Because Plague can just bring itself back for another synchro play. Gale just permanently halves any monster, and Junk Synchron just brings back any level 2 or lower and sets up for a level 5 synchro play, or even level 4, or maybe higher if somehow you have other monsters on the field. Yeah, it's tricky. Then again, it also depends whether you mean in the anime or in just the 5D's era overall, like in the actual game. Because if you mean the actual game, then I would say Plague Spreader Zombie. But if you mean in the anime, I guess Gale, because you can do more than one thing with it. It's just halve monsters and synchro with it. 2. Can you rank the Signer Dragons? What, as in my favourites, or which ones I think is the best? I mean, I can try. So from the lowest to highest, I would say Lifestream Dragon. Despite its good effects, it can only work in, well, one kind of deck really, which is Morphtronics. Yeah, unless you're running something like Gigavise, which plays Power Tool, and somehow you're able to randomly tech in Livestream Dragon, but it's unlikely. Number 5, I would say Black Winged Dragon, because it's simply just a 28 beat stick that just stops burn damage and gains counters, but there is some payoff with the other effect, I suppose. Then after that, I would say Ancient Fairy Dragon, because it's a synchro dragon that doesn't see a lot of play. I know decks have used and abused it to the point where it's been banned, but that's only really with field spell decks more than anything. Other than that, it doesn't really do much, besides special a low level monster from hand, but then you're forced to skip your battle phase, which is kind of a pain. Although I did like the little combo I did against Matt and Alison Welch the other day, where I made it with Debris Dragon and King of the Swamp, then used it to special summon Stratos and then get its effect. But it was turn 1, so this was perfectly fine. Number 3, I guess Red Dragon Archfiend, because yeah, it's one that you wouldn't play multiples of. At least not back then. I mean, I know you do nowadays, because Red Dragon Archfiend decks are just amazing now, and you kind of need more than one original Red Dragon Archfiend. But back then, I mean, it was just good as a 3K beta that you could just easily go into, and it's only regarding making use of its effect, it's only really useful against something that stalls or something that sets up a wall of defense just anyway. Now, this is where it gets tricky. For number 2, I would say Black Rose Dragon, because just simply because of its ability to field wipe, which is really, really handy in a lot of situations. I mean, it definitely helps reset the game. I mean, the other effects doesn't get a lot of use, except in only gets used in plant decks, but yeah, it's just mainly used for field wiping, which is just really, really good, even though, you know, there are a few ways to counter it, like Summon Negation, Stardust Dragon, Starlight Road, even the Huge Revolution is over. Speaking of Stardust Dragon, I would put him at number 1, and I'm not saying that because he's my favourite synchro monster, but because it's just one of the best and most useful level 8 synchros in the game. I know not every deck that makes level 8 synchros plays it nowadays, but even in the early days of synchros, it was an absolute must in pretty much everything. It's just so handy to just stop destruction effects in their tracks. Mirror Force, Torrential, Smashing Ground, Lightning Vortex, Heavy Storm, just things like that. It even power crept Fissure, Smashing Ground and Sakuratsu Armor, because one thing I've noticed is that ever since Synchros came into the game, nobody plays those cards anymore. Yeah, the last time any of these cards were even main decked were in like pre-Synchro era. But ever since Stardust came about, there's just been no point playing them in anymore. I mean, Mirror Force still saw play, but even then, Stardust just makes it useless. Yeah, that's how I'd rank the Signer Dragons. 3. Would you think you'll make a good evil signer, and what Earthbound Immortal would be yours? I guess I would, depending on what my sinister motive would be. Wait, I swear Gungner asked me a similar question before, and I mentioned about using the powers to fight crime and corruption. I forget which episode it was. It's alright though, it's been a while though. I mean, to be honest, I would love my signature Earthbound Immortal to be either Kukapakapoo or Asilapiscu, because they're my 2 favourite ones, but I don't know which one I like more. But I'll tell you why they're my joint favourites. It's because they have similar effects to 2 of the elemental heroes, or 3 if you count an upgrade of Flame Wingman, because Kukapakapoo is basically Flame Wingman slash Shining Flare Wingman in Earthbound Immortal form, where it just does damage equal to this destroyed monster's attack points. So whether it's doing that or attacking directly, Kukapakapoo is always going to do some damage, which is why I really love it so much. And as for Asilapiscu, well, it's literally an early version of Elemental Hero Absolute Zero. I mean, it does literally the same thing, but has the added bonus where it just burns. Obviously, it can't do it if it leaves the field by its own effect, but any other way, it's just going to nuke monsters and burn the opponent for 800 for each one. But again, it really makes it hard to choose which one I'd use. But if I really had to pick one, I'd probably pick a Cookapakapoo, purely because, well, as much as I like Absolute Zero, I like Flame Wingman and Shining Flame Wingman even more. 4. Which turbo bicycle is your favourite in the duel? I think you mean Duel Runner. I guess I'd have to pick Yusei's, just because of main protagonist bias. I mean, Jack's Duel Runner is cool, but it's like, how would you even steer and stabilise that thing? You know? 5. Which female character in 5Ds would be your lover? I'm gonna be honest, I don't feel completely comfortable answering this question. But I suppose if I was a character in Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5, then I'd choose Akiza, because, well, she's my favourite female character in that one. As well, I mean, she's hot. What can I say? Yeah, she had a troubled past, but she did end up becoming a kind soul in the end. So yeah, she has beauty on the outside and the inside. 6. If you were the mayor, how would you run the 5D cities? I think you mean Neo Domino City. How would I run it? Well, for one thing, I wouldn't exile the poor people who end up living in the satellite to the satellite. Alright, I know this was resolved, like, between seasons 1 and 2, but if I had my way, I wouldn't put all the poor people in a poor area. I'd want everyone to be equal. And just and make everything affordable, basically. And just deal with any sort of crisis however the best I could. Yeah, that's what I'd do. 7. If you had evil psycho powers, I think you mean psychic, like Akiza, how would you cope? Well, these psychic powers aren't evil. It's just, well, they can be hard to control, but at least at first. I mean, I would definitely struggle at first, like anyone would, by discovering they have psychic powers. It would be stressful, but, you know, with some help and trying to remain cool, calm, and collected, you know, I could train how to use these powers, just be careful with them. Learn how to use them in a controlled way. Maybe not to the point where I'd expose myself, because, well, I know that can cause fear and panic, but I feel like I could still open up to people I trust, like, deep in my heart. That's how I'd cope. And finally, 8. What would you do if Ancient Fairy Dragon has chosen you as a signer guy? I'd feel a bit overwhelmed, but I'd probably accept it because it would just feel good to just do some good for the world and the signers and whoever, and the Duel Monsters spirit world, I guess. Next question is from Gunnar. What do you think we will get for new Odeon Ishtar support in the new Maze set, and what effects would they have? We know we get his fake Ra and new Temple of the Kings. I'm curious to see what these cards will do. I actually can't wait to see the fake Winged Dragon of Ra. I'm really curious as to how similar it will look to the real deal and what sort of effect it will have. I'm guessing it would be an effect that would involve special summoning it off the new Temple of the Kings in some way or another. And I'm assuming it'll just be retrains of what we have already, as in the original temple, plus Mystical Beast of Skirkit and Embodiment of Apophis. Although I could have sworn there was news of a retrain of Embodiment of Apophis, unless I'm just remembering it wrong. But yeah, I think retrains of all this stuff would definitely be a thing. Maybe even something that could search for Judgment of Anubis as well. I think I heard somewhere there'd be a new Anubis trap. Oh yeah, I think you might have mentioned it in our group chat. I'm not sure. But yeah, definitely similar effects to what we have already, but definitely upgraded. Is all I'm going to predict on this one, as it's hard to say. And the last 3 questions are from Matt and Alison Welch. 1. What do you think of the 2 Jackass clips I sent you? The Brand and the Snakeball Pit. Well, the Snakeball Pit thing was terrifying. Like, that would shit me up if I was in a pit with a fucking snake. Because as I mentioned before, I'm scared of snakes. Not as much as my mum, but still scared of them nonetheless. It's like, get me the hell out of here! And as for the Brand, yeah, it looked a bit painful, especially since the part where it makes contact with the skin wasn't exactly flat. Yeah, well, that looked a bit painful, especially after leaving that mark. It's like, ow! Yeah, both looked painful. Wouldn't want to be those guys. 2. You were chosen to do one of these stunts for $20 million, which of course I'd convert into British pounds. Which one would you do? I think I'd rather do the Brand one. I mean, sure, it would hurt like hell and leave a mark, but I would much rather have that done to me than be in the same room as a fucking snake. I mean, obviously, if the snake was contained, then I'm fine being in the same room, but if it's on the loose, I don't want to be in the same room as it, or even just the same generalised area. So, yeah, give me the Brand any day, even though it would hurt like hell. And finally 3. What are you hoping will be in the new Maze set? Do you think you'll get a box? It looks tempting. I can't really think of anything I'd want, except more Magician Girl stuff. When I did my top 5 list of archetypes that need support. I didn't think to put magician girls. I mean, well, I don't mean to be more biased, but I think it needs it more than Summon Skull, even though Summon Skull also really needs extra support, but Magician Girls need it more. As the monster lineup is fine, it just needs spells and traps to help make it more consistent. But I don't think we'll get that, so I'm not holding my breath. I don't know, I can't think of anything else. I know there is that Magician Girl monster that works with performer powers and continuous spells. I can't remember. I think the question about her came up in another episode. I can't remember, but I'm not really a huge fan of that one, as it's like I don't know how useful it's gonna be, because my only low-level light monster is Lemon Magician Girl, and it's not really something I'd want to mill. And if I did mill it, I'd have to run some Perform Mages, mainly Trip Clown, and I don't know what continuous spell I'd play in Magician Girls. Now I know an easy answer would be Magician's Left Hand or Magician's Right Hand, but the thing is about those is that A, I hate those cards, especially Magician's Right Hand, and B, both those cards are banned in Richician format, so that's out of the question. I'm just not sure that card would help Magician Girls that much. I mean, it's not really enough. But anyway, back to the topic at hand. I don't know what else I'd hope for, and I really don't think I'll get a box. And even if I did want to get a box, I'd have to change jobs, basically. Because obviously right now I'm in no position to fork out for booster boxes, you know, as much as I'd want one. But yeah, other than Magician Girls stuff, I can't think what else I'd want, really. And yeah, that is it for questions in this episode. Thanks a lot for your guys' questions, very cool ones as always, and if you've got any other questions you want to ask me, post them in the comments section down below. And remember, I do these episodes every Tuesday afternoon or evening, UK time, so be sure to get your questions in before then, so that you don't miss out. Thanks again, stay safe, and I'll see you guys later. Bye. Thank you very much for watching. Be sure to subscribe to the Dark Richician YouTube channel.